We decided to visit Birchland Elementary School because they had started using Universal Design for Learning a few years ago, and we were interested in seeing how they had progressed in their journey. We spent a couple of days with the staff, students, and administration to observe and then ask some questions.
And in that way, we could use the Smartboard software in order to create actual lessons using the
Using the tech.
using the digital copies of the textbooks.
Provided for like interactive
Yes.
lessons and common focus, right? So the kids weren't down here. Everybody was engaged with what was happening
Yes,
at the front of the class, right?
yes. So there was that engagement that we'd never seen before. That was so incredible. Lots of buy-in from not only the kids but the parents as well. We did a whole thing with the parents, and that was important for the community.
We're, equal is not fair, so let's start there.
Yeah.
So our kids are really hyper aware of that fact. So they know that not everybody's going to get the wiggle chair, not everybody's going to get the bike, and it's okay. It's something we grow through the ages, so hopefully by the time it gets to Craig, it's a non-issue. If they're not managing in the classroom, we have the sensory room that you saw. And if there is help in the classroom, there's lots of time for walks or talks or, right?
Yes.
Classrooms are full. They're crowded. It's just being super flexible, right? And not saying, well, get on the bike. What do you mean the bike doesn't work? Get it on again, right? It's just knowing your kids and going, okay, this works for you, but this doesn't work for you, and getting them to recognize that.
Yeah, well, that's sort of a
Like we've done rubrics where we have all of the tools. I really like this tool. This tool works for me because there's a difference there, right? And it's just getting that sort of metacognitive awareness of this helps me learn, and this is just fun.
Yeah.
And it's a battle sometimes for sure.
Yeah. Where are you as a learner?
Yeah.
How do you learn best? And that's been an ongoing thing. And kids have to learn that and relearn it, and because it changes as you go. And so one of the things, well, actually, I want to say that one of the things that we really found was that the real experts in UDL, before we did UDL, was the primaries, right?
Primary teachers.
Yeah, the primary teachers, sorry.
Flexibility is number one. Number one, flexibility in your ability to know what your kids need and know, who to count on and who to talk to, and right? Because things change every year. Things change. You cannot do this year what I did last year. I can't.
Yeah. When you
right?
That UDL isn't necessarily about technology, right? And
or about flexible seating, or
Yes.
about whatever. It's finding what's best for each kid, right?
And you were saying the same thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of I think each school, maybe even each classroom, has to find their own way into UDL, right? We eventually came to this place where we were incorporating so many different things according to what we perceived as our needs. We started calling it the Birchland way, right? Birchland UDL, right? Because we started veering off of different things and kind of pursuing what we felt was important here.
Because there's a buy-in to the philosophy, but then there's total autonomy on how you achieve that, right?
Yeah.
So we don't.
I know that at the intermediate level, we became more driven by self-directed kinds of projects. How well are your kids taking ownership of their learning? And we found it was the leaps and bounds that we started seeing were incredible. You talk about compliance. Well, a lot of that stuff, a lot of that managerial stuff, we found kind of goes away. Right? Once the kids started buying into it and taking ownership, they were just so busy learning and doing what they were interested in. A lot of that just kind of went away. We used to, I know for myself, before we started the UDL project, I would spend, and I think it was the same for just about everybody, maybe like a half an hour sometimes after recess or after lunch when the kids came in, solving all those managers. Yeah. But it was just, for whatever reason, that started to go away. And it was, I don't know, you want to talk about magic. And what we found was where you found a school where there was very little teacher buy-in, where it was top-down, administrative-driven, you found nothing but hostility and resistance. and you can't run it like that.
No.
Right? Because one of the things that made it work here at Birchland was because all the teachers bought in. And we all had, our doors were always open, and we exchanged ideas, we exchanged strategies, we shared
Struggles and
and lessons. The
yeah.
lessons that the intermediates, me and the other intermediate teachers were using, we were creating our own lessons. And
So unique lessons.
yeah, unique lessons with all the different, hotspots, and so we would be all over the internet and with our lessons, so we could hop all over.
So much, but structurally, things that I did differently this year that was absolutely on purpose to help with the way that things flowed and to develop more time for people to collaborate and create, hopefully, the structure that will allow collaboration was that idea that I talked about where they put the groups into their teams, so they've got their grade alike teams with a department head, with a student services person dedicated to that team. And then we also have the collab time that's vertical, so we have from each team a group that comes during running club so that I'm freeing them up to be able to
now
have that opportunity.
Sacred time?
Yeah.
As much as it can be.
Oh, no, it is sacred, absolutely. It's my teaching time, and it's their prep.
Yeah.
So contractually. Is we don't have any go-to things like textbooks or programs or things like that. But having an outside voice is very important for the staff. They had that resource. You heard Lori talking about that when they had the outside facilitator who came in and helped them when they were kind of at the beginnings of their UDL journey. And I've brought in somebody, so that's our Miriam Miller person who's helping us with our school goal. And so bringing in that outside voice as a facilitator, it's not just me. Right? I get to be in the sandbox with the staff.
I believe this, but this really is something happening.
That's right. That's right.
I promise you that other people
and
are.
I call it, having the critical friend and the friendly critic. Right? Like, so she comes in and she's able to see things that we're not because we're in it too deep. Right? And she's able to sort of say, hey, well, I noticed this, this, and this. Have you thought of? Right? And it's like, well, duh, because be at your school on a regular-ish basis, like say minimum 5, I would say best 6 times during the year, so that, and the idea being that, something's presented, some ideas, and then now we take those ideas and we put them into practice somehow, and then we pick that up the next time.
And that's what sort of reaffirmation.
I had a really interesting conversation with one of the teachers last night, and we were just talking about, he was talking about how, the years when they were beginning their UDL stuff, how it's just like the best years of his teaching career. It was just, he got that magical sparkle in his eye, and he was just, you could just tell he's passionate. It was so great. And so we're sort of dissecting that, and I said, and one of the things that they did is they had people like yourselves come, and he said, we talked and talked with people in the district, but nobody else took it up. And I said, but it wasn't their journey.
No.
It has to be what this particular group of people, right here, right now, what seems to be the next thing for them. It has to come from them and be from them. We can't force something to happen.
No.
And we can't talk about we can talk about it, but we can't expect that our talk is going to affect the same thing somewhere else because they're on their own path. And so we want to make sure that we're investing our energy and time into things that we believe are going to make bigger than the usual amount of change, improvement in kids learning.
Bang for the buck.
That's right. And so I would say this staff would be pretty confident that the work that they were doing around UDL did that.
Well,
how do we bring people up to speed on the Birchland way? How do we support people who may not have had the same background in UDL, in formative assessment, in social emotional learning as many of the staff who've been here. And what's nice about the school is we've got a core group, I'd say a third, who have been here for a very long time, which is fantastic. So we've got a base to kind of work on, right? And a foundation, you know, to kind of build. And I think some of the things that we've done, so we spend our first week with the kids, not putting them into their classrooms. We have a very transient neighborhood. And so we keep that week as very open, and it's about setting the expectations, both for the kids and for the new staff. It's all planned in June, so by the previous staff. So whoever's there in June is planning for that first week in September. The kids come in, we have them in their last year's classes, and they rotate through the entire staff. Stuff, which is why that blend of self-regulation fits with UDL, but it also fits with all of that self social emotional stuff. I would say, and again, there was no one path there. Each teacher, although everyone was committing to the values, right? They weren't the Birchland way. They weren't all doing it in exactly the same cookie cutter methodology. Right.
Well, that's how
so
you
like
see it
I
now.
said, when I showed the 2, 4, 5 classrooms, you couldn't find 2 more different classrooms and 2 more different teaching styles. However, they're both affecting the same change because they both actually philosophically believe in the same sorts of things. But what I think it also does is it helps those new staff kind of know, oh, these are some of the expectations. This is what to expect, and you know, and it's set out for the kids in fun ways, right? But also for the adults, right?